In the previous video, I summarized 4 criteria that scientists and historians use to evaluate competing explanations of what they observe. We saw that the criterion of simplicity can be a tiebreaker between explanations that equally lead us to expect some phenomena. So, in this video, we'll look at Professor Richard Swinburne's arguments that theism is in fact a very simple ultimate explanation. Welcome, I'm Jordan, and this is The Analytic Christian, the channel that helps you explore Christian philosophy and theology. To get started, let's define the term ultimate explanation. I'll give Swinburne's formal definition first and then restate it without the technical jargon. You'll recall that in the last video, I identified 3 types of explanation: full, partial, and complete. A full explanation is one that makes the occurrence of the event being explained inevitable. A partial explanation is one that makes the occurrence of the event only probable. And a complete explanation is a full explanation that cites the most fundamental powers and liabilities, or beliefs and purposes. So, what is an ultimate explanation? Swinburne defines it as a complete explanation of some events in which all the factors involved have no further explanation, full or partial, in terms of earlier causes. Now here's the basic idea without the jargon. An ultimate explanation is the thing or things on which everything else depends for its existence and properties. We'll focus on 2 possible ultimate explanations. The first is what I call naturalism. This is the view that the existence and operation of all the factors involved in personal explanation have a complete inanimate explanation. To put it another way, the personal and the mental are fully caused by the physical. It may be that as we explain the whole state of the universe, we eventually come to a first state of affairs, a chunk of matter, having the power to produce all other matter, and the liability to do so under certain conditions. Alternatively, the chain of explanation may go back forever. In that case, on a naturalist view, any ultimate explanation of the universe will include a whole beginningless earlier state of the universe, with all the substances and their powers and liabilities existing at earlier times taken together. The second is the view that the existence and operation of the factors involved in inanimate explanation are themselves explained in personal terms. And persons include not just humans, but other kinds of intelligent agents as well. One theory of this type is theism, which is the view that there is a God. Recall from the first video that on this view, God keeps in existence the material objects of our universe from moment to moment with their powers and liabilities to act. God thus sustains the laws of nature. As for the universe as a whole, if it had a beginning, then God created the first material objects. If the universe has always existed, then God has always sustained it in existence. Either way, on this view, God provides the ultimate explanation of the universe. Now, which one of these is a better ultimate explanation? To answer that question, we need to use the criteria discussed in the previous video. Here's a pithy summary. We are looking for the simplest ultimate explanation that leads us to expect the observable phenomena when we would not otherwise expect to find them. In the remainder of this video, I'll summarize Swinburne's argument that theism is a very simple ultimate explanation. In future videos, we'll see why Swinburne thinks that theism is simpler than naturalism, and why he thinks naturalism is unable to explain a range of phenomena that theism can. Alright, so why think that theism is a simple hypothesis? The short answer is that it postulates only one cause with 0 limits, apart from those of logic. Why is the only one cause part significant? Well, simple explanations postulate few causes. For example, the explanation, Bob's death was caused by drowning, is simpler than the explanation, Bob's death was caused by drowning and a lightning strike. So the simplest possible ultimate explanation will posit only one cause. And that's precisely what theism claims. Every other object which exists is caused to exist and kept in existence by just one substance, God. And every property which every substance has is due to God causing or permitting it to exist. Why is the zero limits part significant? Well, Dr. Callum Miller offers a helpful example in his paper, Is Theism a Simple Hypothesis? The Simplicity of Omniproperties. Consider the following two hypotheses. H1, all protons have a charge of +1. H2, all protons except one have a charge of +1. Our observational evidence alone isn't sufficient to show that one of these hypotheses is more probable than the other. Sure, each proton scientists have observed has a charge of +1, but the number of protons in the universe is extremely large, so it would be enormously improbable that we would happen to observe the single proton with a different charge. Yet, scientists find H1 to be more probable because hypotheses, theories, and laws that posit no exceptions are simpler than those that do. To posit an exception is to posit some kind of limit. So a hypothesis with no exceptions has zero limits. This scientific example provides a nice analogy to theism. Consider God's power. The hypothesis that God is omnipotent, meaning he can do anything that is logically possible, is simpler than the hypothesis that God has some large but limited degree of power, because the former posits no exceptions, or in other words, zero limits. The same goes for God's other basic properties, which we discussed in the first video. It's simpler to posit zero limits on God's knowledge and freedom than to posit a large but limited degree of each. Now, you might think that a God with 0 degrees of power, knowledge, and freedom is just as simple, or even more simple, than a God with exceptionless or unlimited degrees of each. However, as we discussed in the first video, God is a person, and a person could not be a person if he or she had 0 degrees of power, knowledge, and freedom. These are essential. So theism actually posits the simplest kind of person there could be as the ultimate explanation. And if you deny that the ultimate explanation is a person, you're shifting back toward naturalism. How does theism as an ultimate explanation compare to naturalism? That's the question we'll take up in the next several videos as we look at a variety of phenomena we find around us, starting with the existence of an orderly universe. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. If you value these animated videos and want to see more of them, please consider becoming a patron. The link is in the description of the video. Thanks for watching.